Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Nainam Namaskrityam.
Nainam Namaskrityam.
Nagam Shiva Nagottanam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jamudiyayat. Nastapayasya abhatesu.
Nastapayasya abhatesu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhakti Bhagavati Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhagavati Naistiki.
Tasya Sado Apapasya.
Tasya Sado Apapasya.
Punasya Brahmavadina.
Punasya Brahmavadina.
Katam vadam yata bhapo.
Katam vadam yata bhapo.
Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Tasya sado apapasya.
Tasya sado apapasya.
Brunasya brahmavadina.
Brunasya brahmavadina.
Katam vadam yata bhapo.
Katam vadam yata bhapo.
Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Tasya sado apapasya.
Tasya sado apapasya.
Punasya brahmavadina.
Brunasya brahmavadina.
Katam vadam yata bhapo.
Yatam vadam yata bhapo.
Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadorapapasya. Brunasya brahmavadina. Yatam vadam yata bhapo. Manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadorapapasya. Punasya brahmavadina. Katam vadam yata bhapo. Manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadorapapasya. Tasya sadorapapasya. Punasya brahmavadina. Punasya brahmavadina. Katam vadam yata bhapo. Katam vadam yata bhapo. Manyate sanmato bhavan. Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Mataji explains.
Tasya sadorapapasya. Punasya brahmavadina. Katam vadam yata bhapo. Manyate sanmato bhavan.
Word for word translation. Tasya,
Of
him,
Sadhu,
of the great saintly person,
of the great saintly person,
Apapasya,
Prabhava,
of one who has no sinful life,
one who has no
Punasya, of the embryo,
of the embryo,
Brahmavadina,
Brahmavadina,
of one who is well versed in Vedic knowledge, Katam, how, Vadam, the killing, Yata, as, Babu, of a cow, Manyate, you are thinking, Satmataha, well recognized by higher circles, Bhavan, your good self. Translation and commentary by Abhayacharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. You are well known and worshipped in learned circles. How dare you to kill this Brahman, who is a saintly, sinless person well versed in Vedic knowledge? Killing him would be like destroying the embryo within the womb or killing a cow. Purport. As stated in the Amasa Kosha dictionary, Bruna Ribake Balagarbe, the word Bruna refers either to the cow or to the living entity in embryo. According to Vedic culture, destroying the undeveloped embryo of the soul in the womb is as sinful as killing a cow or a Brahman. In the embryo, the living entity is present in an undeveloped stage. The modern scientific theory that life is a combination of chemicals is nonsense. Scientists cannot manufacture living beings, even like those born from eggs. The idea that scientists can develop a chemical situation resembling that of an egg and bring life from it is nonsensical. Their theory that a chemical combination can have life may be accepted, but these rascals cannot create such a combination. This verse refers to Brunasya Bardam, the killing of a Bruna or destruction of the embryo. Here is a challenge from the Vedic literature. The crude atheistic understanding that the living entity is a combination of matter belongs to the grossest ignorance. Read the verse once again. Tasya sadho papasya punasya brahmavadina katam vadam yata bhavruh manyate sannatu bhavam. You are well known and worshipped in learned circles. How dare you kill this Brahman, who is a saintly, sinless person, well versed in Vedic knowledge? Killing him would be like destroying the embryo within the womb or killing a cow. Omagyanatimarnasya chanjana shaka sakshamitam yena tasmai si gurave nama Chitretana pistam stapitam yena bhutane shamrupkadam nam dadanti svapalantikam Vandeham sigo siyudatam kamalam Sigum Vaishnavam Sirupam Sagasatam Sakam Ragnatam Patam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parsam Saitam Shri Krishna Samadevam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanam Vikashni Krishakam Putam Shah Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jatpate Gopesha Koprakanta Gandakanta Namaste Tapta Kansana Kaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshri Samama Sutta Devi Pranamama Rekri Vanka Kalpa Vishana Kripasan Vesha Bhaktinam Pravanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Santi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ki Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachari Desatani. So in this part of the Bhagavatam, many dynasties are described. The Soma dynasty, Surya dynasty, and we have here in the 9th canto the story of Bhagirat, who wants the the Ganges to come down to the earth to save, and they would save his forefathers. It's a big story. But one of these descendants here is Saudas. Saudas was a king, a great king. And his spiritual master was Vashista. And kings, the Kshatriyas in the Vedic time, they had to protect the citizens against so many criminal elements. And one day the king was having a fight with a Rakshasa, a man-eater. Of course, that is dangerous element. And he killed the man-eater, good, but he did not kill his brother. He saved his life. His brother was also a Rakshasa. But then he was full of compassion, not killing his brother. But then somewhere or another, this brother mixed with the personnel in his palace, and he was serving in the kitchen somewhere or other. How that came to pass, not clear from the story, but anyway. But one day, Vashista came, his spiritual master, and this Rakshasa brother cooked for the spiritual master of Saudas, the king, and he offered him human flesh. Of course, Rakshasas are man-eaters, they like cooked human flesh. But Vashista is not like it. And he cursed Saudas to become a Rakshasa. So he got a body of a man-eater. Of course, as a soul we get bodies. And we know you have to act according to the nature of the body you get. So if you have a Rakshasa body, you want to eat human flesh. That is natural in that body. But then here the story is that in the forest that Saudas meets this Brahman and his wife, who were on the point of copulating. Anyway, yes, Saudas was thinking, this Brahman will become my meal. And he expressed a desire to eat him. But his wife, the Brahman's wife, is pleading, please don't eat him. And we have heard her prayers in the previous verses that, yes, you are a highly learned Brahman engaged in performing austerities and eager desiring to worship the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, who lives within the core of the heart of all living entities. So she's saying, my husband is a great Brahman. He has performed austerities. And then she's praising the king Saudas that you must be completely aware of the Vedic religious principles. That yes, it's a Brahman. The king should protect the Brahmins. That's your duty. and and she's flattering him here that you are well known, worshipped in learned circles, so don't kill this Brahman because he is well versed in Vedic knowledge. It's a great sin if you do. Anyway, she will, but further in the story we will see Saudas, his hunger is too strong, and finally he will eat the Brahman, and then he will be cursed by the wife of the Brahman. For the second time he's cursed. And said, if you ever approach your wife to get children and you try, you will die. That was the curse. So when I went to this story, I was thinking how we know the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita tells us Tashevarita Payate Koktona Lapyate Pramatam Yapayata Talapyate Dukava Anyatuskam Kalena Sapata Ramira Ramasa. One should search for this happiness, which is not available from the lowest plant to the highest plant. And what happiness in this world is concerned, one should not strive for it. It comes on its own accord, like distress comes on its own accord. And we have all that experience. We have all experienced a lot of suffering in our life. And do we want it? No. So, like suffering comes in our lives, also happiness comes on its own accord. You don't have to strive for it. It will come. Why is that? Because this body is, we got this body because of the actions and reactions in our previous lives. And in this life, you get reactions on your previous lives. And your happiness and distress in this life by birth is fixed. You cannot change it. You can try, good luck, but you cannot change it. So we see the Saudas has to undergo a lot of distress, twice cursed. The first time, he, out of compassion, he was not trying to kill this Rakshasa. But then finally, it was a cause of him being cursed by his spiritual master. Your spiritual master is supposed to be your well-wisher. He was cursed by him. And now he will get a second time cursed. But the point made here is, of course, Saudas, he gets a body of a Rakshasa. We must act according to the body that we get, to the nature that we get. If you get the body of a dog, you can only bark. That not much you can do. But the human form is very valuable, we learn in the Vedic literature, because there you can expand your consciousness into the spiritual realm and understand your real identity. So the human form is very, very rare and valuable. And we know that Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto says, Kamara achetpahyo dharmam bhagavatam yam durvam mansam chamyam tapya dhruvam aftadam. So he says, yes, we should cultivate Krishna consciousness from a young age, so that we can use this life for self-realization and stop this suffering going to birth, death, old age and disease. These are really the problems of life. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, yes, he speaks about the sinfulness of abortion. It's very much in the news today, especially in America, that I did some research in Srila Prabhupada's books, and what's the reaction for killing the child in the womb? Srila Prabhupada said, yeah, if a mother decides to kill the child in the womb, then she will, in her next life, enter the womb of a mother and will be killed in that womb. Will not see even the daylight. So that is the price, the reaction. It is sinful. And why are people doing that? Out of ignorance. They don't know their real identity. They think they are the body. But the basis of Krishna's teachings is, who are we? Mamayam Sushivelika Jiva Buddha Sanatana. We are a part and parcel of Krishna. A spirit soul. And this is not easy to understand. How the spirit soul is within the body. It's at one side we can understand it, but how this material nature work is very complex. We know, yes, like life, the scientists say life comes from matter. That's their so-called theory. It comes from matter. It comes from the brain. As long as there is brain activity, there is consciousness. Consciousness comes from the brain. That's their point. But it doesn't make sense. Because there are so many evidences that people who got a surgery and operation and they are floating above the theater of the operation, in the operation room, and they hear what the doctor says to the nurse. They can describe so many things, and according to all their machines, there is no brain activity. So there should be no consciousness. So how it is possible? And then there is the proofs for reincarnation, especially young children. This professor who did research on young children in Bangladesh and India, and they all, usually 2-3 years old, they remember previous lives and can describe things from previous lives, because previous life was not far ago. It's very recent. But yes, all these proofs are there, and nobody can explain the cause of consciousness. But Krishna explains the cause of consciousness. He says, you are my part and parcel, spirit soul. And the spirit soul, he explains, is in the area of the heart. It's floating in 6 kinds of airs, put in place there. That it's not that someone undergoes a heart transplant, you take the soul out. It's not possible. It's in the area of the soul. And that makes, this soul makes this body working. It's like a fuel in a car. Without fuel, the car will not drive. So this spirit soul is the cause of this body in the womb of the mother. So the father gives the seeds to the mother, and with the spirit soul, and from there it develops. And the soul is in the heart. In the heart means that from the heart the consciousness flows all over the body. It's transported by the bloodstream. Everywhere we have blood, we have feeling. That's the consciousness in the body. So that's knowledge. But if we know we are not the body, we are the soul, then the following questions are there. That first, what's the symptom of the soul, and what are the activities of the soul? And Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, the symptom is consciousness. As long as there is consciousness in the body, the soul is there. From the moment the soul is out of the body, no consciousness anymore, and immediately the body starts to decompose. Immediately. So that is knowledge. The spirit soul is not a body, but it's the knower of the body, Krishna says. We are in the heart. But not only we are in the heart, also Krishna is in the heart. Krishna tells us that in Bhagavad Gita. We know Krishna is in the heart. Whatever you know, whatever you forget, Krishna is in the heart. He gives you that. He controls material nature. There is this verse in the 5th chapter which describes verse 8 to 12, I think. 8, 9. 9 again should go into this verse describes the vision of someone who has understood that as a spirit soul, he only desires in this world, and the rest is done by material nature. Not easy to understand. So it says, one who moves one's eyes, moves one's hand, walks, sleeps, evacuates, speaks, that he knows very good that he himself as a soul is not doing anything, but this is all done by material nature, which is under control of Krishna in the heart as a super soul. Not easy to understand, deep philosophy. But that we can realize that we are not the body by starting to control the mind. The mind is a part of this machine. The mind means thinking, feeling, willing. That thinking, feeling, willing is activity of the mind. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of 175 in the Bhagavatam, the spirit soul has its own thinking, feeling, willing in its unconditional state also. So as a spirit soul we have our own thinking, feeling and willing. But now we lost that. Now that's taken over by subtle body. Because we have a subtle body and a gross body. And the subtle body is the cause of, because the subtle body means body, mind, intelligence. And that subtle body moves from one body to another. It's going with the soul. It's the cause, because this thinking, feeling and willing of the mind, if it's surcharged with a desire to exploit this world, you move from one body to another by that desire. And therefore we need to purify this mind and come back to our original state. But purifying the mind, that means first one must realize I'm not the mind. And that's the problem with most people. They think they are the thinking, feeling and willing. It feels good, do it. But Krishna says, yoga, but it means controlling the mind. Without control of the mind, yoga or self-realization is a farce. Self-realization is realization and experience of the soul instead of experience that I'm the body. This control of the mind can only be achieved if one has spiritual strength. Spiritual strength comes from the Supreme Lord, and is given to us if we want to purify our heart and act to purify the heart. That act to purify the heart from our tendency to exploit this world, because that's why we are here. You go in the street, go to Chateau Rouen, and you ask the people, quel est le but de la vie? What's the goal of life? What will they say? Enjoy. Enjoy. You live only once. That's what most people say. But that you live only once, they cannot prove. That's a big speculation. And enjoying, they speak about enjoying of the body. But there is enjoyment of the soul. Enjoyment of the soul is of a higher nature. It's about love for God and love of all living entities. And that's an ecstatic love, which is not from this world. The enjoyment in this world is absence of suffering we take as enjoyment. I like to eat nice, belly full, and then I feel good for some time. Then the problem starts again, hunger. But that's not enjoyment. That's absence of misery for some time, and we feel good. But because people, in general, lack this knowledge, all education is in our present society is based on that underlying principle that you are the body. And that's wrong. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada calls these educational systems in this world slaughterhouses of consciousness. They are indoctrinating you, brainwashing. You are the body, and you must act as the body. That you are Ukrainian, okay? You go to war. It's your country. You have to fight. You have been born here. Your body is from here. So you are Ukrainian. And the Russian, the same thing. For the Russian. And that leads to wars and violence and all these things. Because this mentality to exploit is based on I and mine. That I'm the enjoyer. And this is mine. That's for my enjoyment. But they forget. Did everything belong to them before birth or after birth? Or after death it's going to be? No, it was there already. everything comes from God. Everything belongs to God. And therefore, he has the right to enjoy. Real enjoyment is serving out of love, God and all his part and parcels. Love means giving without asking something in return. And that gives satisfaction to the heart. From the moment you want to exploit, then in the heart there is dissatisfaction. You cannot really feel happy by giving this body some happiness, and that. Therefore, it's very clear here that yes, this means the embryo in the womb of the mother means life, spirit, soul. And the spirit soul has to take birth because of the actions in previous lives. It has to take birth. And if you stop that, you stop the progress of the spirit soul. You force it to take again birth from another womb. So that's violence. That's violence. And that's all done out of the grossest ignorance, Srila Prabhupada writes. Because people think, yes, I'm the body. And this life is everything. It just was in the news yesterday. There's someone 14 years old and already got a few abortions. It's crazy in this world. And that's the cause of many reactions, violence. That's developing a good character means the beginning with having respect for life. That not killing animals to eat them for your satisfaction. That for some temporary. This is the same thing that giving the child in the womb is murder, and that's very clear here. It is murder. And it's heavy to accept for people because they are identifying with the body, they are in ignorance. But ignorance is no excuse. That one can say, I'm driving to England and I'm driving at the right side of the road, but the police will stop me and say, this is the wrong side, and you will be fined. I can say I didn't know, but it's no excuse that you will be punished. So people can think that they can do everything in this world, that they are independent, but we learn it's not like that. We are completely independent as living entities, that completely independent, and we are under the strict laws of material nature. And these are the strict laws of material nature. Reactions in previous lives are very heavy for such activities. So that's what I could say on this purport. Prabhupada, yes?
Thank you. So when you explain these things about sin and punishment and laws of material nature, in my heart and mind I become a little bit afraid of God, I could say. So how to understand, to open my heart, how to understand God's love behind this system of
That's a very nice question.
thinking.
I must say, God is all good.
Yeah.
But how can we understand this?
Yeah.
That, well, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that I'm not responsible for the pious and impious activities of the living entities. So, the suffering we get in this life is a reaction of the suffering we caused to others in previous lives. And that's the system Krishna has created. But one with wisdom understands that. He remembers Krishna's words. I samsvasyaboha dukriyana evati atyant vandikautisha natishura mate buddhaha. The sages have concluded that one who once tries to enjoy in this world, the price is suffering. And it's temporary, it's not worthwhile. We are here only for some time. The body is wearing out. This one, 62, soon out of this world. And that's for everyone. It's very temporary. And people think this life is everything. But then that brings up the point. Why did Krishna give us this suffering as a reaction? Why did he organize things in this world? Because Krishna is like a good father. We wanted to come here, but Krishna said, okay, you want it, then you want to be the controller, you can do, but under my conditions. The conditions are that you are responsible for your acts. If you cause suffering to others, you must suffer. You must be responsible. And that's the first thing. The second thing why he does that, he does not want us to be in this controlling mood, which is not our position as a spirit soul. Our position is in the spiritual world, that's our home. There we have an eternal body. Krishna speaks about this out in the spiritual world. And there everyone serves Krishna in his eternal body out of love, just giving, no exploitation. So Krishna wants us to give up that sense of exploiting the material energy. And therefore he gives suffering, so that we understand this is all useless. It's just giving me unhappiness. And if we realize that, then we turn back to Krishna. So he wants us to turn back to him and give it up and go back to our home, to the spiritual world. So that's Krishna. And the devotee understands that. He understands, yes, Tatena kampam sumikshama punshatnai vadnakitam vivakam vidvakvabhuvirvidodam namaste chivetyo muktipade sadaya. But this is a verse from the Bhagavatam which explains, yes, the mentality of a devotee, how he deals with suffering. He says, oh Krishna, you give me this suffering, but because I want to become a devotee, you give me only a bit of the suffering. You are so merciful. And I deserve it. Because these are the reactions of my past lives. I'm responsible. I accept it. It's out of your mercy. If you have that mentality in your heart, that burns away all your impurities. And then it's your right, the verse says, to go back to the spiritual world. So, but that purification of the heart, takes a while. Getting rid of lust, anger, greed, madness, egoism, envy, jealousy. You have to get rid of it. And if we chant Krishna's holy names, we hear the Bhagavatam, and we start to serve the deity, we start to serve the devotees, and we start to do our work for Krishna, and then our life becomes very sublime. I'm already happy in this life. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
Something else.
That's nice.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Tantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
His Holiness Bhakti Prabhava Maharaj ki.